They call me Squirrel.
What's going on, Squirrel Squad? It's your boy, the Squirrel. Today I'm reacting to American things Europeans can't understand. I've done some videos like this before, so some of the information here may be a little similar, but I don't think I've done this piece. I think this is going to be a little different. It's going to shed some light on some more things that we may do that are not really that understandable to people in Europe. So let's get into this and see, first of all, if I've seen it before, or secondly, what's in the video. Let's unwrap it and let's check it out together and talk about it. Here we go. This is American things the Europeans can understand. Like
While the culture of the United States is exported all over the world in films and on TV, it also abides by some laws and practices that many consider unusual. Europeans in particular seem to have a hard time wrapping their heads around some of them. From child beauty pageants to gun laws, let's take a look at some American things that Europeans can't understand. Sick of commercials. If you're a European enjoying a cozy night in on the couch in America, some of the stuff on TV may shock and surprise you. And no, I'm not talking about Keeping Up with the Kardashians. I'm talking about commercials, which arrive so frequently it makes watching TV feel almost unbearable to anyone unaccustomed to it.
Seals leaks instantly. Use it on
Especially pharmaceutical commercials, which usually show grumpy men and women turned into smiling, happy people by the product being sold.
Yeah. I think a 30-minute program has 22 minutes of program with 8 minutes of commercials. And yes, the amazing transformation of these magic pills. This is why our whole country is screwed and people are hooked on medications.
These are usually followed by an almost comically long list of potential side effects spoken at double speed, like
It's so funny too. It's gonna cause you to shit your pants and you can't breathe, and then your brain swells up, and then after that you're gonna break your legs and gravy's gonna pour out, and then you're gonna die.
Ambien ad.
As well as abnormal behaviors such as being more outgoing or aggressive than normal, confusion, agitation, and hallucinations may occur. Don't take it with alcohol as it may increase these behaviors. Allergic reactions such as shortness of breath, swelling of your tongue or throat may occur and in rare cases may be fatal. Side effects may include next-day drowsiness, dizziness, and headache. In patients with depression, worsening of depression including risk of suicide may occur.
This is so ridiculous. Like, if you have depression, this is gonna do you in. That is the end of every one of these ads. Here's all the bad shit that's gonna happen to you. Like, the bad always outweighs the good. Gosh, man.
These types of direct-to-consumer commercials peddle prescription drugs, which is an advertising standard that was rejected by the European Commission back in 2002.
Good.
The Commission stated that pharmaceutical companies were unable to provide impartial information on their medicines. If that's the case, why is it practiced in America? To put it simply, there's simply never been a federal law passed to outlaw the practice.
Actually, when you go back to that picture of our government sitting there, and it is that there's not a federal law, that's correct. But the reason is because these pharmaceutical companies donate millions of dollars to these politicians to keep them from passing laws against this. They are in the pockets of all the politicians. I'm not being some conspiracy theorist weirdo. This is real. Over here in America, people buy into campaigns and they donate lots of money. And that's how like people are always like, how does this company get away with this? How does this company get away with this? Well, when you give the guy $3 million who's running for office and he wins, you tend to get what you want, you know? And that's what's happened. Pharmaceutical companies have destroyed our country. My country is in shambles, probably all of them. I don't know. I'm sure it happened in more countries than ours. Heroin is higher than ever because doctors were just willy-nilly writing pain prescription pills to everybody. These pain companies, these companies with psychotropic meds were giving out samples, and doctors were giving them out by the handfuls of people. Once they're hooked, they come back and get the prescription. It's fucking evil, and it has destroyed us. And it's a bunch of garbage. And it's because they pay the politicians. And it's not like, I'm not like, oh no, they're in the back alley paying. It's up in the open. It's right there. Yeah. Pfizer donated $3 million to this guy. This isn't something I want you to know, I'm not being crazy. Like, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. This is what happens. It's just real. And it's out in the open.
This is in no small part thanks to the fact that direct-to-consumer drugs and their accompanying ads are a huge business. And in America, whether it's right or wrong, the rules tend to follow the money.
Yep.
Europeans might actually need a pill for the headache all those ads give them. May cause dizziness, loss of limbs, telepathic powers, and a violent hatred of cheese. No place like home. Let's say you're a European who's just moved over to America. You found a house in a nice residential neighborhood and you're going through your bills. Rent, water, gas, electric, all seems in order. But wait a second. What's a homeowners association fee? To a native, that's a pretty obvious question, but for Europeans, it's an unwelcome surprise. These fees contributes to the local homeowners association, which is somewhat like a neighborhood watch, but managing funds to be reinvested into the community. It goes towards things like residential maintenance and common spaces, which keeps residents happy and property values up. With around
I just want you to know this is not all over America. These are little communities that do this. These HOAs, as they call them, homeowners associations, typically put ridiculous rules into effect, and at the end of the day, it's so that a certain small amount of people can keep control over the community. It's always the same Karens that are running it, and then they have these stupid little rules in place. So if you break a rule, they can easily get you out. I've seen plenty of court cases on court TV and things like that that I've watched about HOA things or whatever. I've never lived in a place like that, and it's not by accident. I purposely won't move in. They're nothing but a bunch of stuck up pricks, and they charge you a ton of extra money every month. You pay someone to restrict your life. I think unless you are a stickler for the rules and some hoity-toity moron, I think you're not very bright if you're purposely going to live in an HOA because you pay them to restrict you. It's stupid.
24% of all Americans living under a homeowners association. They pay
24%?
$200 to $300 on average per month in fees to these entities.
I don't think 1/4 of America's. I don't think that's correct. For the sake of argument, I'm going to say that this guy did good research and it is, but that seems real high.
Now, while some Europeans might struggle with this concept, it was a form of governance that was actually invented by France back in 1804. The condominium law was exported to the US, where it became incredibly popular. So, for any European that wants to complain about homeowner regulations and fees, feel free to blame the French. Vacant vacation days. The USA has one of the largest economies in the world. A tremendous economy, in the president's words. But Europeans looking to get into the American world of work are often shocked when it comes to vacation time. US workers are not entitled to mandatory paid vacation at all. Usually, the issue of paid leave is left at the discretion of employers, and yes, that does include national holidays. According to research from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, in 2017, only 77% of American workers had access to paid vacation. Now, the reason that might leave Europeans slack-jawed is because mandatory paid vacation time in Europe starts at 4 weeks. In fact, America is one of the only Western countries where law doesn't enforce companies to give its employees mandatory paid vacation time. Don't believe me? Take a look at this map breaking down mandatory paid vacation time by country. Only the great countries are known not to give paid time off. It's a working culture that undoubtedly favors employers over employees.
Without a doubt, they work your ass to the bone. And my whole take on this is once I realized what paid vacation was, I refused to take a job that didn't have paid vacation. See, you have to put yourself in a situation. That's the whole thing. Like all this shit is avoidable. If you want a vacation and you want vacation time, then you have to. I worked in plenty of jobs that didn't offer vacation time when I was younger. And I bettered myself and I worked hard and I pushed my way up the ladder so that I could start getting jobs in companies with better pay, much better pay, better vacation time, much better than none. And so that's the whole thing. Like, maybe when you're young and starting out, but you just gotta, you gotta look for the next job when you're moving. You got to make sure that's one of the things they offer, just like not moving into a homeowners association property. 4 weeks vacation. I just want you to know that's unreal over here. That's unheard of. Like usually after like so many years, you move up to 4 max. Usually it's 3. Like 3. If you have 3 weeks paid vacation a year, that's a lot. That's a fucking lot.
Americans might want to think about learning Chinese instead, as employers in China must legally offer 5 days of holiday. Although that is after one continuous year of work. Win some, lose some, I guess. Florida man. If the American states could be looked at as a dysfunctional family, then Florida would be the weird uncle who once ran away with the circus and wrestled a tiger. The Sunshine State is the 3rd most populous state in the USA and receives over 100 million visitors year on year. With so many people living between Miami Beach, Disneyland, and Pensacola, a little crazy is bound to be found on the fringes of society. But what Europeans aren't prepared for are the crazy antics of Floridians that make daily headlines. From Florida man believed that he was half man, half dog in March 2019 to Florida man robs bank, strips naked, then runs down the street throwing stolen money everywhere in July 2017. You can search the internet for almost any day of the year and find a headline announcing Florida man has committed an utterly baffling crime. There doesn't seem to be an equivalent for any European countries, although the UK comes close with some of its questionable journalism topics like
Britain's fattest woman ate fridge and died.
Let me know the funniest local headlines you've ever seen at stories@bmas.com.
So, Florida man, there's actually a guy who calls himself Florida man because there was so many stories that start with Florida man does this, Florida man. So he started just calling himself Florida man. That's what I thought this was going to be about. This is absolutely correct, absolutely true. I lived in Florida for 16 years. There is the wackiest shit in America happens in Florida. I mean, it happens elsewhere, but the bulk of it happens, like 90% of it happens in Florida. I have a theory on this, and just hear me out. When you live in Florida, I did a project when I was living down there where I wanted to write a book, and unfortunately, I just never followed through with it and kind of lost all the material that I had at that point, and just never started the project again. But I went around and took pictures of homeless people with a nice camera, and then I sat and I recorded on a little cassette thing their story. We talked, and I asked them questions, and I found out how did you get on the street, and I wanted to make a book with a big, full page of a black and white photo of this person, their story after. I thought it'd be really nice, and the whole thing just kind of just fell by the wayside. It was a good thought out project to help the people that were going to be in the book, but I just never went through with it. I was very young, and then I started a family and all that. But anyway, uh, they almost all told me the same thing. They come to Florida from any part of the country because Florida is one of the only states you can live on the streets year round. It gets cold a certain couple nights throughout the winter, but you could, up under the bridge with all your stuff or whatever. Like you have the best chance of year-round survival on the streets of Florida. That's why you get the dregs from every other state. You know, if someone's running from something, if they're running from child support or from a crime they've committed, or they escape a mental hospital, but they got their faculties there, but they're not all there. They kind of need some help taking care of themselves. Florida's the place that they head to, and I say that, and people are gonna be like, "Yeah, right, a mental person's gonna know to go to Florida." Like a third of the people I interviewed, that's what it was. It was like, well, I was in a state hospital, not escaped, I got let out, but I was supposed to be on a social program, and I said, screw this, I'll just go to Florida. I can live on the streets and at least have a life of my own. It's crazy. That's why Florida is so screwed up, though, because you can live on the streets virtually year round. So people come down, they become homeless, and they become professional homeless. I talked to some of these people, and they were like, don't want to go to a house. I like the way I live. That's why you see a lot of that. And there's a lot of drinking. A lot of drinking. It's hot outside. A lot of day drinking.
VAT trouble. In Europe, like most of the world, tax is built into the price of items in-store and online. So what you see on the tag is what you pay. But Europeans visiting an American store might be left doing a double take at their bill when they reach the register. There is no national sales tax or value-added tax in America. Instead, American taxes differ by jurisdiction, of which there are around 7,000.
But look at some of these numbers. Up in the Northeast, 22%, 25%, 13%. Those aren't taxes you're going to pay on goods if you come over here. Those are the state taxes on the employees. This is a little skewed in information. What they're showing you is not, I mean, I've seen 10, 11% in like Orlando, like really high, like tourism areas. But I'm telling you right now, 13%, that's really high in Florida. 11 is the highest I ever saw down there. And 22, 25 in the Northeast, that's not right. This is a different tax that they're showing you, but they're making it sound like it's a tax on the goods you're buying. It's just a little misleading.
Differences in these local rates, state taxes, or combined state and local taxes means that final prices for the same item can differ from one street to the next. For first-time shoppers in the U.S., this unpleasant surprise is a rite of passage that no one asked for.
One of the other things, too, is state by state, it depends on what's taxed. So I live in a state called Massachusetts, and in my state, there's no tax on food unless it's prepared. If you go to a restaurant, there's tax on it because they prepare it and serve it. But if you just go buy food in a grocery store, there's no tax on it. I kind of went through this before in a different video. Like if you're in Maryland, there's tax on on all food down there, but there's no tax on clothes or school supplies, but there is up here. So it's even more confusing because not only is it a different rate, but it's also different things are taxed differently in different states of who gets taxed and who doesn't. It's screwy.
Tipping point. A meal at a restaurant can be a real treat, but Europeans visiting America sometimes stress about the tip. Although tipping anywhere up to 20% seems normal to most Americans, there's no such obligation in Europe. Indeed, it's mostly seen as a bonus reward for good service, and in some European countries, it's even considered rude and excessive to leave a tip. The American federal government, however, states that tips can be used to satisfy the difference between the employee's hourly wage and the standard minimum wage. This means food servers, valets, and in-house staff in certain states can be working for a federal wage of just $2.13 per.
The government sets this low, ridiculous shit wage, so you don't have to tip, but no one will do these jobs if you don't tip them. So it's kind of set in stone by the government by allowing a $2.13 an hour wage. So these people work for tips. I worked most of my years, a lot of my years as a bartender, pub tender. Yeah.
Per hour, which is about €1.96. So if you're a European visitor to the States, get ready to factor in your tip to the overall price of your meal. You might well be contributing to a struggling waiter's rent. Child beauty pageants. If you've ever been unfortunate enough to have watched an episode of Toddlers and Tiaras on TLC, I think you might side with the Europeans on the next matter. Child beauty pageants are common across America and usually consist of dolled-up little girls being thrust onto a stage to entertain a crowd of screaming moms. It's truly bizarre, but what's equally strange is how the craze got started. Child pageants originated from American Better Baby contests in the early 20th century. Babies would be scored on characteristics like weight, quality of skin, and face shape, supposedly in the name of helping to educate mothers on best practices for healthy babies. But of course, it wasn't just for education purposes. There were also cash rewards and trophies for top-ranking toddlers.
Look at that outfit, huh? That's got a slamming outfit over there. Jeez.
This has slowly devolved into the bedazzled tradition of pushing a child on stage in full makeup and styled hair to do a dance routine for prize money. Although some European countries host similar but smaller events, others like France have gone as far as to ban all such pageants, claiming they're an unhealthy way to treat young girls. If you ask me, their general creepiness alone should be enough to slam the brakes on child beauty pageants. Honey Boo Boo? No thanks.
They really should get rid of child beauty pageants. It's not good. I mean, first of all, girls that age shouldn't be wearing makeup and all that kind of stuff. And people may disagree with me. This is my opinion, but I think that these girls get a sense of entitlement and they get a false sense of how the world works at a young age. By sticking them in beauty pageants, you show them that it's all about how you look. This kind of goes against the way the world is turning right now, where we're supposed to just accept everyone, right? I mean, we should anyways, right? That's what we're supposed to have done our whole lives. But now we're really kind of clamping down on that. I don't agree with anything for children this young. I know that right now they're trying to push like gender politics on kids in schools that are real young. Wait till they're older and then at least let them explore that, and that's fine. But anything when the kids are real young, I just don't understand how, I don't understand how that's healthy to confuse their brain. And I think that's what this does. And I think it's nuts. I think we should let kids be kids. If little Jimmy wants to play with dolls and little Susie wants to play with baseballs, doesn't matter. Just let them be kids and let them grow up and let them become who they want to become. I'm sick of parents trying to change their kids thinking they know what's good for them. Oh, it's crazy. These kids don't know what they want at this age. Nuts.
Size is everything. According to an old saying, everything's bigger in Texas. But if you're a European, you'll probably think that about all of America, right down to its people. It's no secret that America has a little bit of a weight problem. 2/3 of American adults classify as overweight, and it's estimated that almost 40% of adults in the U.S. aged 20 and over are obese. Contrasted to Europe, where a survey carried out in 2014 labeled just 15% of adults obese. That's a king-size difference, with a side of fries. The American tendency to overeat might have something to do with portion sizes in the States. A study comparing portions in Paris and Philadelphia revealed food outlet portions were 25% larger in Philly. And a review of 17 different single-serve foods like yogurt and candy bars found that 14 of them were bigger in Philadelphia. While a one-state to one-country comparison doesn't necessarily represent the whole, Europeans on social media often comment on how much bigger everything seems stateside. Have
It
you
is
noticed this
crazy.
difference in portion sizes? Let me
I
know in
know.
the comments
I notice that when I live here. I know that we're just gluttons with food. It's crazy. Bigger, 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 bigger.
below. Bonus points for food puns. Oh, sugar. Living in America can really give you a taste for the sweet life, but your teeth won't thank you for it. Why? Well, some American foods and drinks have been found to contain huge amounts of sugar compared to their European equivalents. Some common bread brands contain up to 6 grams of sugar per serving, 6 times the amount found in European counterparts. But it doesn't end there. Taking a look at Pizza Hut's sugar content reveals most of their stateside pizzas have close to double the amount of sugar per slice as European versions. And in Starbucks, a UK venti white chocolate mocha will contain 62.4 grams of sugar. But in America, that shoots up to 72 grams. I've heard of sweetening the deal, but any Europeans making the trip across the Atlantic might leave suffering from the toothache.
Starbucks is overpriced, oversugar garbage. No matter where you're at in the world, apparently. I thought it was just here.
Gaps in the market. European standards of building a public restroom involve plenty of privacy, mainly in the form of cubicles with doors that are more door than gap. Seems obvious, but it's a standard that Americans just can't seem to adopt. With ridiculously large gaps at the top, bottom, and sides, it makes for a truly uncomfortable first visit to an American toilet for unwitting visitors. On their first time, Europeans are left feeling especially susceptible to unwelcome visitors and peeping Toms. Some people even resort to taping up the gap to prevent prying eyes looking in. But as strange as the design seems, there are some theories as to why Americans build their stalls this way.
The gaps on the bottom aren't as high as they make it look. They're actually closer to what they said was European, the gap in the bottom. But there's definitely a sizable gap that people can look right in and just see you sitting on the john. It's ridiculous. Um, it's said that, from what I've heard anyway, it's said to be done for safety to prevent people from using these stalls to do drugs. To be able to, if somebody's struggling in there, you can see if someone's trying to rape somebody, something like that. But still, at the end of the day, privacy's privacy. I just don't. I don't know. I
For
don't
a
know.
start, high floor gaps allow for easier cleaning, and they do make it simpler to pass toilet paper from one cubicle to another. On top of that, the vertical gaps act as a deterrent for anyone thinking of doing anything naughty behind closed doors. But there's always the chance you might accidentally get a real eyeful. Maybe just close your eyes before entering any American restrooms. Triggered. It strikes many Europeans as a bit odd that in America you can pick up your groceries from one aisle of a store and a gun from another. Indeed, you can buy guns over the counter in places like Walmart, and ammo can be found in pharmacies. But seeing as guns are still legal in many parts of Europe, what is it that Europeans find weird about the gun-loving, rifle-wielding, Second Amendment-touting American citizen? It might have something to do with America's gun-related death rate, seeing as per capita, there were 12 gun-related deaths for every 100,000 people in America in 2017. Very few European countries exceed 3 gun-related deaths per 100,000 people, and none even come close to America's 12 per 100,000. The causes of the problem are fiercely debated, but it might have something to do with how easy it is to buy a gun.
I just want to make a quick note. Just because in fairness, I've never found a pharmacy anywhere that sells gun ammunition. I've never seen that. When he said you could buy a grocery one out and buy a gun in the other, I was like, that's ludicrous. That's not true. You can't buy guns in grocery stores. And then he said Walmart, and okay, Walmart, you used to be able to buy guns. They've banned guns in almost all Walmarts now. Most Walmarts don't sell guns or ammo anymore. Most don't. There are still a few that do, and there's some stores that sell just the ammo, I think. But so in that particular chain, yes, it's true. But for the most part, like not all grocery stores sell guns. That's all. Like, and I guess now that I think about it, there are a lot of WalMarts that still sell guns, but it's different though. It's like it's mostly just ammo, and then they sell like small caliber guns nowadays. They've changed a lot of their policies. But yes, you can buy guns at Walmart. You can buy that's the whole. You can buy anything at Walmart. That's the whole theory. But yeah, and I'm not saying that these statistics are staggering. It's ridiculous. The whole thing's crazy. I agree with all that. I agree that we need to get some kind of something going on over here to fix this. I just want to make sure we're all on the same page with facts. That's all. That's all.
Background checks are usually carried out, but a research survey from Harvard in 2015 estimated that a third of American gun owners have purchased a firearm without a background check.
I don't know where that's a Harvard study. So maybe it's true, but now again, that's 2015 or 2022. When you take the class and you apply for it, you go through a rigorous background check before they give you the permit to start with. So I don't know how much has changed in 7 years, but I think it's changed a lot. When I went, it took me like 6 weeks to get my permit because they were going through what they call a query check, where they were checking your criminal background and complaints against you and things like that. But yeah, I mean, it's always been, and gun shows is a whole nother story. But you still have to have that. You still have to have that license even at a gun show. So there is still that check, but as we've heard and seen, not everything is foolproof, and sometimes things slip through the cracks. And not only that, but there's always people that are dumb enough to buy a gun for their friend like an idiot. That's stupid.
In Europe, many countries like Austria and Germany require would-be gun owners to go through a rigorous 7-step procedure before owning a gun. High-caliber handguns are outright banned in the UK, and many categories of semi-automatic weapons are illegal to own across Europe. It's simply much harder to legally
And America.
purchase a gun in Europe than it is in the US, which I'm sure is a trigger point for some. Have you
I mean, he's right. It is easier. Semi-automatic weapons, I think, are banned in all states now. I think, but I could be wrong. So they are moving in the right direction to try to get some control on things. So, it's a fine balance because it's written in our Constitution, which is hard to just rewrite that. So it's going to take time to get that fixed, I think. But I don't know. That was a cool video. I have not seen that before, obviously, because I'm still sitting here. I'm still talking to you. But interesting to see some of those things. Some of them I kind of knew about. I knew the gun thing was going to be big. I figured it would be at the end. Again, it's not incorrect. I just wanted to correct that it's not as. Every time I see a video like this, it's always like, a 12-year-old kid can walk into the store and buy a gumball and a semi-automatic rifle. It's not. That is not true. There's no background checks. Some of this stuff's just not true. So you just got to make sure that you're going by what is true and what's not. So I just wanted to point out that things have changed. That's all. When this video was made, it's gentleman probably absolutely correct. I don't know, but things have changed a lot. So either way, it doesn't matter. We're not here about guns. We're here about everything in this video. There's a lot of cool stuff in there. The bathroom crack is horrible. Like I don't like to go to the bathroom anywhere except at home. Any kind of restroom usage. Our public restrooms are horrible. They absolutely do suck. A porta potty is even the worst. The self-contained porta potty. Those things are usually sprayed upon the back walls, and it's just a horrible experience in those things. Ugh, not good, not good, not good. So what did you think of this video? I thought it was pretty nice. Like I said, I thought it was interesting. Had a lot to say in this. I like to kind of give you good commentary when it's about my country, so that way you can kind of get an American's perspective on this. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope that maybe you got a little bit more of an opinion from an American while you watched it than just watching it, and you kind of understand why. The tax thing was a little screwy, like I said. I think there's just some crossed information when people research for these videos. That's all. I don't blame the person who made it at all. I just think that sometimes you get crossed information. That's all. So I hope you guys have a great day. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you'll join me for another very soon. Guys, take care of yourselves. I'll talk to you soon. Scroll out.